E-cigarettes are the latest fad when it comes to the tobacco epidemic, but there's no tobacco in the e-cigarette. What you do have there is a cartridge that has nicotine, which you find in tobacco and some other chemicals. And basically it's a nicotine delivery device.
And if something sounds too good to be true, University of Guam adjunct research faculty Dr. Annette David says it probably is.
You have something that looks like a cigarette. On one end, you have the cartridge that contains the liquid with nicotine, and on the other hand, you have a battery, and in between them, you have a heating chamber. So really what it does is it heats up the liquid and vaporizes it, and that's what you inhale is a vapor. It's not smoke because there's no burning, but instead what it is a vapor, which is why some people call the use of e-cigarettes vaping.
But even with tobacco out of the equation, Dr. David says there's little research to prove e-cigarettes are in fact safe.
There's really not very good data out there on what the hazards are, but some of the things that we do know, number one, the nicotine that's there is as addictive or maybe even more addictive than what you would find in a cigarette. And that's because depending on how often you use the e-cigarette and depending on the strength of the cartridge you put in, you could actually be taking in more nicotine than if you were just smoking your cigarettes.
But what's most alarming, Dr. David says most people don't realize that nicotine is a poison, and its most popular use next to cigarette smoking, killing insects.
There are such things as nicotine intoxication. We don't normally see them with adults, but with the amount of nicotine that you have in the cartridge, if a small child were to get that and were to inhale all of that, then there is a very real risk of toxicity. So that's the other thing.
Even worse, because they're not FDA regulated, companies aren't required to reveal additional ingredients in e-cigarette cartridges. Although they're marketed as a safer alternative to cigarette smoking, Dr. David says there's little evidence to support such claims.
In a sense, it is less harmful than a cigarette in that you don't get the same amount of cancer-causing chemicals that come when you burn the tobacco. But the FDA has said that in preliminary studies, they have measured some carcinogens from the vapor of the e-cigarettes. So it's maybe less harmful, but it is not safe. Use it at your own risk. At this point, it's not regulated by the FDA, so we don't really have much science to go by. But clearly, this is something that was created to maintain the addiction to the product. I mean, we do have to think of the industry as very much vested in protecting their profit margins. And less people are smoking now because of all the good laws and policies we have. So there is a lot of pressure on the industry to find an alternative product that will keep the profits going. What's the best way to keep the profits going? Keep your users addicted.